Good morning. Praise God. We are in Job chapter 7. Is there iniquity in my tongue? Cannot my taste discern perverse things? That's what we left off with, was verse 30 there in chapter 6, before we read chapter 7. I think that goes along with a psalm that I was reading recently, either 26, 27, or 28 there. I think David kind of says a similar statement, which is, can't you tell, that this is wrong? Like, for example, I suggested, in order for us to get the correct milk delivery, because our milkman or the milk company is lazy, we could blackmail them by telling them, we could tell them the truth, that the truck driver is sexually harassing one of our workers, and we could just blackmail them, and then we would get the correct amount of milk. In fact, we would probably get some free milk at the same time at our store. That was my suggestion. See, if you want to just be wicked and not have a conscience about that, two wrongs don't make a right. Even though the milk driver is incompetent and the milk company is incompetent with how they deliver the milk, the frequency, and the correct amount that we receive, we always run out of milk, Then you order too much milk to compensate. You complain about not having milk, and then they overcompensate, and then we have spoiled milk that we don't sell. You don't gain anything on milk. It's just something that people need, like every day. What you actually need is raw milk, but the availability of that, they want to give us poisoned milk. But anyway, my point is that right for me to propose blackmailing the milk company in order to get the correct milk? No. In your taste, or maybe in your conscience, or maybe your spirit, that would be a perverse thing to do. Because what would that would lead to? You're threatening the milkman, threatening his job. You're about to hurt some milkman, even though he's a pervert and he does some weird stuff. But anyway, you're about to ruin his life. 20 years to retirement, he gets fired at his 20th year and he doesn't qualify for the retirement. You ruin his life. What about his wife? What about his kids? What about his family that now has to help him because you ruined his life? Even just words ruining another person's life. Do you realize the impact you're having with such a wicked thing to propose? Or we're not actually going to do this. Jared almost always does the right thing, and he would never do something like that. But it's just an idea to get the correct shipment of milk. But would that not be, don't you immediately dismiss such an idea? That's the difference between... This is Job's response to Eliphaz here in chapter 6, This is something that Superman wouldn't do, I wouldn't do, he wouldn't dupe to something like this. Jesus wouldn't dupe to something so wicked, It's just off the table, and it limits what... It limits what the hero's options in a lot of situations, but that's a good thing, though, because ultimately doing wicked deals like something like that, blackmailing a milk company, or maybe what Job is hinting at is some kind of deal involving his cattle dealings, he's a rich cattleman, and he's ripping off some small cattle dealer, and he knows. Does he give the guy a fair price, or is he like, well, he's from Lebanon area, and I don't like those Lebanese, so I'm gonna charge him 40% more. You're discriminating against that group of people. Don't you immediately agree with that statement in verse 30? Cannot my taste discern perverse things? So this is his response to Eliphaz. He's saying, I know when something I do is bad, even though Eliphaz his friends are coming up with ideas of how Job sinned. He cheated on his wife. He stole some cattle. He ripped somebody off. He did this. He was allowing his kids to rob a bank or something. No, I think Job is one of the best men of history. A righteous man. How unheard of today. Let's read his continued response in chapter 7 of Job. Verse 1. Is there not an appointed time to man upon earth? Are not his days also like the days of an hireling? As a servant earnestly desireth the shadow, and as an hireling looketh for the reward of his work, so am I made to possess months of vanity, and wearisome nights are appointed to me. When I lie down, I say, when shall I arise, and the night be gone? And I am full of tossings to and fro unto the dawning of the day. My flesh is clothed with worms and clods of dust. My skin is broken and become loathsome. My days are swifter than a weaver's shuttle, and are spent without hope. Without hope. Oh, remember that my life is wind. Mine eye shall no more see good. The eye of him that hath seen me shall see me no more. Thine eyes are upon me, and I am not. As the cloud is consumed and vanisheth away, so he that goeth down to the grave shall come up no more. He shall return no more to his house, neither shall his place know him any more. Therefore I will not refrain my mouth. I will speak in the anguish of my spirit. I will complain in the bitterness of my soul. Am I a sea or a whale, that thou settest a watch over me? When I say, my bed shall comfort me, my couch shall ease my complaint, then thou scarest me with dreams, and terrifiest me through visions. Wow. So that my soul chooseth strangling and death rather than my life. I loathe it. I would not live alway. Let me alone, for my days are vanity. What is man, that thou shouldest magnify him, that thou shouldest set thine heart upon him? Yeah, it's amazing. And that thou shouldest visit him every morning, and try him every moment? How long wilt thou not depart from me, nor let me atone till I swallow down my spittle? I have sinned. What shall I do unto thee, O thou preserver of men? Why hast thou set me as a mark against thee, so that I am a burden to myself? I'd like somebody to intelligently speak like that. That would be amazing. I would be dumbfounded to hear somebody use verse 20, in response to me. I'd be like, wow. I'm just so used to, never mind. 21. And why dost thou not pardon my transgression, and take away mine iniquity? For now shall I sleep in the dust, and thou shalt seek me in the morning, but I shall not be. Amazing. All right, we'll be right back. Thank you.